They called him crazy long before they called him a legend. In the small villages of old Japan, people whispered his name with doubt and fear. They said he walked alone too much. They said he trained at strange hours. They said no normal man would live the way he lived. His name was Miyamoto Musashi. At that time, Musashi was not famous. He was not respected. He was just a rough young man with wild hair, worn clothes, and eyes that never looked away. While others slept, he trained. While others talked, he watched. While others chased comfort, he chose discipline. People laughed at him. They did not understand why he woke up before the sun. They did not understand why he ran barefoot on cold ground. They did not understand why he practiced the same sword move again and again, sometimes thousands of times in one day. To them, it looked useless. To them, it looked crazy. But Musashi was not training his sword. He was training his mind. He believed something very simple. If you can control yourself, no one else can control you. Musashi grew up in hard times. Life did not give him comfort or safety. From a young age, he learned that the world was harsh. Many boys wanted an easy life. Musashi wanted a strong life. He wanted to become someone who could not be shaken by fear, hunger, or pain. So he made rules for himself. Rules no one forced him to follow. He woke up before dawn every day, even in winter. When the air was cold and dark, he stood outside and breathed slowly. He told himself, if I can face this cold, I can face anything. While others slept under warm blankets, Musashi stood alone with his thoughts. His body suffered, but his mind became calm. During the day, he trained with a wooden sword, not for a few minutes, but for hours. His hands cracked, his muscles burned. Sometimes blood came from his skin. Still, he did not stop. When pain came, he did not fight it. He accepted it. He believed pain was a teacher. People passing by shook their heads. Why does he punish himself? They asked. Is he trying to destroy his body? They did not see what Musashi saw. Every strike made him sharper. Every mistake made him wiser. Every drop of sweat made him stronger inside. Musashi did not care about how he looked. He did not care about clean clothes or praise. He cared only about improvement. When he walked through town, people avoided him. Children stared. Warriors laughed. They said he had no style, no honor, no manners. Musashi heard them. He just did not listen. At night, while others drank and talked, Musashi sat alone. He thought about his training. He replayed fights in his mind. He studied how people moved, how they breathed, how fear showed in their eyes. He believed true strength came from understanding, not anger. This made him different. Other fighters trained only when someone watched. Musashi trained when no one was there. Other fighters wanted fame. Musashi wanted mastery. Slowly, stories began to spread. They said Musashi could stand still for hours without moving. They said he could read an opponent's move before the sword was raised. They said he walked into fights calm, as if nothing could touch him. Still, many called him crazy. One day, a group of young warriors mocked him openly. They said real fighters enjoyed life. They said discipline like his would break a man. They said no one could live like that forever. Musashi listened quietly. Then he said something simple. A man who cannot control his habits cannot control his sword. The words stayed with them. Even if they did not understand, they felt the weight of his calm voice. Musashi believed discipline was not about force. It was about choice. Every day, he chose to wake early. Every day, he chose hard training. Every day, he chose silence over noise. These small choices shaped him. Months passed. Years passed. While others changed paths, Musashi stayed steady. His body became strong. But more important, his mind became sharp and still. Fear visited him many times, but it never stayed. He had trained for this. He had trained to stand firm when fear knocked on the door. Then came the day that changed everything. A challenge arrived. A skilled swordsman from another region heard about the crazy man who trained without rest. He wanted to test him. Many people gathered. They expected Musashi to fail. They expected him to break under pressure. Musashi arrived late, not because he was careless, but because he was calm. He walked into the place without fear. His clothes were simple. His weapon was not fancy. People laughed again. They thought discipline without style meant weakness. They were wrong. As Musashi stood there, breathing slow and steady, something felt different. The air felt heavy. Even before the swords touched, the crowd felt it. This man was not nervous. He was not angry. He was empty, clear like still water. The duel had not even started, yet something had already ended. The laughter stopped. That day, people began to see the truth. Musashi's extreme discipline was not madness. It was preparation. Every lonely morning, every painful hour, every silent night had built this moment. But this was only the beginning, because what Musashi would become, what his discipline would turn into, was something no one was ready for. And the next path he chose would make his name echo through history. The day after the duel, people could not stop talking. Some said Musashi was lucky. Some said his enemy was weak. Others said it was fear that won the fight, not skill. Musashi did not join the talk. He returned to his simple life, as if nothing special had happened. He woke before sunrise. He trained in silence. He ate little. He slept little. Victory did not change him. Praise did not touch him. He believed that winning once meant nothing. Discipline had to be renewed every day. Inside him, something was growing. He understood one clear truth. Real battles do not happen only with swords. They happen in the mind, long before steel meets steel. Musashi began to travel. He walked from village to village, from school to school. Everywhere he went, he watched fighters train. He studied their habits. Many were strong. Many were fast. But most of them had one weakness, their pride. They loved to show skill. They loved to be seen. They loved applause. Musashi stayed quiet. He trained alone, often far from towns. He used trees as enemies. He imagined many attackers. He practiced balance on uneven ground. He trained when tired, hungry, and cold. He wanted his body to obey even when his mind felt weak. People who saw him on the road called him strange. He carried 2 wooden swords. He wore old clothes. He walked with calm steps. Some laughed and said, "This man looks poor. He cannot be dangerous." Musashi let them believe it. One evening, he reached a small town known for its strong fighters. A local warrior saw Musashi and felt insulted by his appearance. The warrior challenged him in front of others, hoping to gain respect by defeating the crazy traveler. The crowd gathered quickly. They expected Musashi to refuse. They expected fear. Instead, Musashi agreed. Before the fight, Musashi stood still. He watched his opponent breathe fast. He saw anger in his eyes. He saw tension in his shoulders. The warrior wanted to win too badly. Musashi wanted only to be calm. The fight was short. Musashi did not rush. He did not waste energy. He waited. When the moment came, his move was clean and final. The warrior fell, shocked more than hurt. Silence filled the space. That night, people whispered differently. They no longer laughed. They wondered. Musashi kept moving. With every fight, he learned more. He learned that most men lose before the fight starts. Fear makes the body stiff. Anger makes the mind blind. Discipline keeps the mind open. Still, not every fight was easy. One day, Musashi faced a man who did not fear him. This man was older, calm, and experienced. He did not insult Musashi. He did not rush. He waited. For the first time in a long while, Musashi felt pressure. The duel lasted longer than expected. Musashi felt his arms grow heavy. His breath deepened. Pain returned, knocking loudly. The old fear whispered, "You may lose." Musashi remembered his mornings in the cold. He remembered the long hours alone. He remembered why he trained. He slowed his breath. He emptied his mind. And then he moved. When it ended, Musashi stood alone. He had won, but barely. This fight taught him something important. Discipline alone was not enough. He needed understanding. That night, Musashi could not sleep. He sat under the open sky and thought, why had the fight been so hard? The answer came slowly. He had trained his body and mind, but he still followed common patterns. Skilled enemies could read those patterns. To move forward, he needed to change. This is when Musashi began something new. He started training with 2 swords. People said it was foolish. They said one sword was already hard to control. Two would only confuse the fighter. Musashi ignored them. He trained slowly at first. His movements were awkward. His balance felt wrong. But he did not quit. Day after day, he practiced simple steps. One strike, one block, one breath. Over time, his body adapted. The two swords became one flow. One guided the other. His discipline deepened. He also changed how he thought about time. He stopped rushing to meet challenges. He arrived early, or sometimes late. He wanted to control the rhythm of the fight before it began. People noticed this. They said Musashi fought before the duel even started. His calm made others uneasy. His silence made them doubt themselves. More challenges came. More victories followed. Soon, his name traveled faster than his feet. Warriors prepared for him. Some trained harder. Some avoided him. Some wanted to break him, to prove he was not special. Musashi accepted all outcomes. He believed that losing would teach him as much as winning. But deep inside, he felt something changing. Fighting was no longer just about survival or skill. It was becoming a path, a way to understand life itself. He began to see discipline not as control, but as freedom. Freedom from fear. Freedom from anger. Freedom from doubt. One night, while resting near a mountain path, Musashi realized something powerful. Extreme discipline had removed noise from his life. With fewer desires, his focus became sharp. With less fear, his movements became natural. He was no longer forcing strength. Strength was flowing through him. But the world had one more test waiting. A famous school of sword fighters heard of Musashi. They saw him as a threat to their honor. They decided to challenge him, not one man, but many. Musashi did not know it yet. But this challenge would push his discipline beyond anything he had faced before. It would test his calm, his strategy, and his soul. And soon, the man they once called crazy would face a storm made of steel. By now, Miyamoto Musashi was no longer a secret. His name moved faster than he did. Villages spoke about him in low voices. Fighters prepared when they heard he was near. Some sharpened their sword with fear. Others with pride. Everyone wanted the same thing, to test a man with extreme discipline. Musashi kept walking. He did not rush toward fame. He did not hide from danger. He accepted whatever came. To him, every meeting was a lesson. Every fight was a mirror. One day, he arrived near a large town known for its powerful sword school. This school was proud. Many strong fighters trained there. They followed strict rules and deep traditions. When they heard about Musashi, they felt insulted. How can one man challenge many? They asked. How can someone with no school shame our name? They decided to stop him. A message was sent. Musashi was challenged, not by one fighter, but by the entire school. When Musashi received the challenge, he did not feel fear. He felt silence. He knew this was not just about swords. This was about pressure. Numbers can break the spirit of a man. Many eyes can shake the mind. The school wanted to crush him, not only in battle, but in meaning. Musashi accepted. The day came. The place was open and wide. Fighters stood in lines. Their swords shined. The crowd waited for Musashi to fail. They believed no one could face so many trained men. Musashi arrived alone. He looked calm. His face showed no anger. He carried two swords. Some laughed when they saw them. Others felt uneasy. Something about his stillness felt heavy. Before the fight, Musashi stood quietly. He looked at the ground. He listened to the wind. He watched how the fighters stood. Their feet, their grip, their breathing. He saw tension. The fight began. Musashi moved first. He did not attack wildly. He broke their rhythm. He stepped into spaces they did not expect. His two swords moved like one body. One defended. One attacked. His feet stayed light. His mind stayed empty. One by one, fighters fell back. The school tried to surround him. Musashi shifted. He never stayed in one place. He used space as a weapon. Confusion spread. Their strength turned into disorder. Fear entered their eyes. What they planned as a storm became a broken wave. When it ended, Musashi still stood. The ground was quiet. The crowd did not cheer. They could not speak. They had just seen discipline defeat numbers. Calm defeat pride. That day, Musashi's name became heavy. But inside him, something changed. He felt no joy. He realized something important. Winning many fights did not bring peace. Each victory added weight. Each defeat of others pulled him further from normal life. He was becoming alone, so he chose another path. Musashi began to step away from constant fighting. He traveled deeper into nature. He lived in caves, forests, and mountains. He carried few things. He trained less with swords and more with thought. He watched animals move. He watched water flow. He watched trees stand firm in storms. Nature became his teacher. He learned that force is not always strength. Softness can guide power. Timing can defeat speed. Stillness can defeat chaos. During this time, Musashi wrote notes. Short thoughts. Simple rules. He wrote about discipline, focus, and truth. He wrote not for others, but for himself. But the world did not forget him. One name rose above all others, Sasaki Kojiro. Kojiro was famous. He was skilled. He loved attention. His sword was long. His style was sharp and proud. People compared him to Musashi. They argued who was greater. A duel was demanded. This duel was different. This duel was not about skill alone. It was about ego, patience, and control. Musashi agreed to fight Kojiro. On the day of the duel, something strange happened. Musashi arrived late. Very late. The crowd grew angry. Kojiro grew furious. He felt insulted. He felt disrespected. His calm broke before the fight even started. Musashi arrived quietly. He carried a wooden sword made from an oar. People gasped. They thought it was madness. Kojiro screamed in anger. His mind burned with emotion. Musashi's mind was clear. The fight lasted only moments. Musashi moved once. It was enough. When it ended, Kojiro lay defeated. The crowd stood in shock. History changed in that moment. Musashi turned and walked away. No celebration. No pride. No words. He knew something now. True mastery was not about winning duels. It was about mastering oneself so completely that the world could not shake you. But victory came with a price. From that day, Musashi carried a quiet burden. He had reached the peak. There was nowhere left to prove himself. The sword had taught him all it could. Now, life itself would test him. And the final lesson would not be learned on a battlefield. It would be learned in silence. After the great duel, Miyamoto Musashi disappeared from the noise of the world. People expected him to enjoy fame. They thought he would open a school, gather students, and live in comfort. But Musashi did the opposite. He walked away from attention. He chose a quiet life, far from crowds and praise. He knew something most people did not understand. The sword had taken him as far as it could. Now, his real enemy was inside. Musashi traveled alone. He lived in simple places, sometimes in small huts, sometimes in caves. He owned very little, a few tools, some paper, ink, his swords. That was all. Each morning, he woke early, just like before. Discipline did not leave him. But now, his training changed. He trained his mind more than his body. He sat in silence for long hours. He watched his thoughts rise and fall. He watched fear appear and disappear. He watched pride try to return. He did not fight these thoughts. He let them pass. Musashi understood that a restless mind is more dangerous than any enemy, so he practiced stillness. When his mind became calm, clarity appeared. He began to see life more clearly than ever before. He also began to create. Musashi painted with ink. His brushstrokes were simple but powerful. Each line had meaning. He believed art and combat came from the same place. Focus. A shaking mind makes weak strokes. A calm mind creates strength. He wrote, not long texts, short rules, clear ideas, truth without decoration. These writings later became the foundation of his teachings. He believed wisdom should be sharp, like a blade. One rule he followed deeply was this: do not depend on pleasure. He ate simple food. He slept on hard ground, not because he hated comfort, but because he did not want to be controlled by it. He believed comfort weakens awareness. Many nights, Musashi felt loneliness. He had no family, no close friends. No easy laughter. The path he chose was heavy. Sometimes he questioned it. Was this discipline worth the cost? In those moments, he returned to silence. He reminded himself why he started. He wanted freedom. Freedom from fear. Freedom from desire. Freedom from weakness. Slowly, the loneliness lost its power. Musashi also began to teach, but not in a loud way. A few students found him. They expected saw tricks. Instead, they found a man who spoke about life. He told them discipline is not punishment. It is direction. He told them anger makes a hand heavy. He told them fear makes the eyes blind. Many left. Some stayed. Those who stayed learned something rare, how to stay calm when life becomes uncertain. Musashi trained them not to win fights, but to understand timing. He showed them how waiting can be stronger than attacking, how stepping back can create victory. As years passed, Musashi aged. His body slowed, his strength changed, but his mind became sharper. He no longer needed to prove anything. He no longer chased challenges. Challenges came to him in different forms: sickness, weakness, and time. He accepted them. One day, Musashi felt his body weaken more than before. He knew his time was moving. Instead of fear, he felt urgency, not to fight, but to leave behind something clear. He returned to writing. He gathered his thoughts. He removed extra words. He shaped his ideas into clear rules. These rules were not just for warriors. They were for anyone who wanted control over their life. He wrote about discipline. He wrote about awareness. He wrote about accepting death without fear. This was his final training. Even near the end, he stayed strict with himself. He did not complain. He did not soften his rules. He believed the end of life should be faced the same way as the beginning, with calm. People around him noticed something strange. Musashi smiled more. Not a loud smile, a quiet one. The smile of a man who had made peace with his path. He had fought hundreds of battles, but the hardest one was already won. The battle against the self. He understood now that discipline is not about control. It is about alignment. When your actions match your values, life becomes simple. No noise, no confusion, no regret. Musashi prepared for the final moment. He dressed himself. He sat straight. He breathed slowly. He was ready. But his story was not over. Because his final message, the lessons of extreme discipline, would live long after him. His words would reach people who never held a sword, but fought battles of the mind every day. The man once called crazy had become something else. A guide, a mirror, a warning. And in the final part, we will see why his discipline still matters today, and how his rules can change your life. Miyamoto Musashi's body grew weak, but his mind stayed clear. He knew his time was close. There was no fear in him, no regret. He had lived exactly as he chose. The extreme discipline that once made people laugh had shaped his entire life. Now, in his final days, Musashi wanted to leave something behind. Not fame, not stories of battles, but truth. He sat alone and wrote his final teachings. Each line was short. Each idea was sharp. He believed wisdom should not be hidden behind big words. Simple words last longer. These were not rules only for warriors. They were rules for life. The first lesson was self-control. Musashi believed that a man who cannot control his habits will always lose. Life fights everyone. Stress, fear, desire, and doubt attack every day. Without discipline, people react. With discipline, they respond. Musashi trained himself to respond. When he felt anger, he slowed his breath. When he felt fear, he stood still. When he felt tired, he continued with purpose. This control made him calm in chaos. The second lesson was daily discipline. Musashi did not believe in sudden change. He believed in small actions done every day. Waking early, training the body, training the mind, observing mistakes, improving a little each day. People want fast results. Musashi wanted lasting strength. He knew that small habits, repeated daily, create an unbreakable mind. The third lesson was detachment. Musashi did not depend on comfort, praise, or pleasure. He enjoyed life, but he did not cling to it. This gave him freedom. When you do not depend on approval, you become powerful. He wrote, If you fear loss, you are already defeated. This mindset made him fearless in battle and calm in life. The fourth lesson was awareness. Musashi trained himself to see clearly, not only enemies, but himself. He watched his thoughts. He noticed when pride appeared. He noticed when fear tried to lead. Most people live on autopilot. Musashi lived awake. Awareness turned ordinary moments into training. Walking became balance practice. Eating became control practice. Silence became strength. The final lesson was acceptance of death. Musashi believed that understanding death gives life meaning. When you accept that life is short, fear loses its power. You stop wasting time. You act with honesty. He did not rush toward death. He did not run from it. He accepted it. This acceptance made every moment clear. In his final hours, Musashi sat upright. His breathing was slow. His mind was still. He followed his discipline to the very end. He passed peacefully. But his story did not end there. Years passed. Centuries passed. The world changed. Swords disappeared. Battles moved from fields to minds. People now fight stress, distraction, fear, and weakness every day. And still, Musashi's discipline works. Because the enemy is the same. The enemy is lack of control. The enemy is distraction. The enemy is fear of discomfort. Modern life is loud. Comfort is everywhere. Discipline is rare. That is why Musashi's power feels extreme even today. People will still call you crazy. They will say waking early is too hard. They will say silence is boring. They will say discipline kills joy. Musashi's life gives a different answer. Discipline creates freedom. Discipline creates focus. Discipline creates strength. He was not born special. He did not have an easy life. He chose hard rules when others chose comfort. That choice built a legend. The lesson is clear. You do not need a sword. You do not need to fight duels. You only need one rule. Control yourself every day. Wake up with purpose. Train your body. Train your mind. Do the hard thing first. You may be laughed at. You may be misunderstood. You may be called crazy. Musashi was. And that is why his name still lives. Final words to the viewer. If you want to change your life, do not wait for motivation. Build discipline. Start small. Stay consistent. Be calm when life tests you. Because in the end, the strongest person is not the one who defeats others. It is the one who defeats himself.